That is something we have done to death.
That was the fucking coolest thing. I've never seen that before. Shut your goddamn mouth.
Captain's Pod, Stardate 326522.1. Welcome aboard the Starship Enterprise, and thank you for joining us as we take a brief short leave from the world of CinemaSins to explore the universe of Star Trek. I am your Captain Ian Whittington, and with me as always is the trilithium resin of ambassadors, Deneé Hughes. That takes an explanation. And the Commodorable Aaron Dicer.
Beep boop, bop, beep beep, bop, beep boop.
Oh, he's so cute.
The Commodorable.
The Commodorable.
As long as I can push my little nose up against buttons,
That's amazing.
Yes,
that's all.
open doors with your tiny little computer nose.
Yes.
Now, the trilithium resin, if you like an explanation, is a toxic byproduct of the warp core that can be used to create weapons of mass destruction.
I have some trilithium resin every once in a while that happens. Yeah, for sure.
It's a toxic thing. Yep. What?
What, you don't excrete toxic things that can be used for mass destruction? No?
Oh, I got the titles confused then. Should have been Aaron, clearly.
Yeah, clearly. We're learning so much about your excretions.
Thank you. Thank you. Powerful excretions.
Far more than we ever thought we would learn. Mm-hmm. Right. Well, this week we're going to be talking about Star Trek. Strange New Worlds.
We're talking about Star Trek? Oh, man.
Again. Damn it. And this week's episode is called Memento Mori. Now, for the Latin-speaking among us, it says, remember you must die. Now, that doesn't fill me with hope, because it sounds like it's going to be, hey, Pike, remember you must die.
Yeah, it sounds like we might be going into that a little bit.
It kind of screams that, doesn't it?
Memento Mori is a great concept. I think there's an X-Files episode called Memento Mori as well.
I think you're right.
And I think it's this idea that not only you're going to die, but we should remember that. There's this, Memento Mori is this idea that we should live our day-to-day life knowing that there's an end point. And so, they would do Memento Mori back in the day where they would have, taxidermy? They would do taxidermy on loved ones, and they'd put them in their home.
Wait, while they're alive?
Yes, Ian. Yes, Ian, while they're alive. No, after they die, they would, stuff them, whatever, and put these displays in their home of their loved ones' bodies as a memento mori, as, a reminder that death was coming. So
life is short.
That just reminds me of the time that my cousin was going through the garage and came upon this container, and she opened it up, and inside was just hair.
Yeah.
And it was our great aunts and great great grandmothers and great 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 grandmothers' hair that they had just kept through the years of these memories of them, and so it was their hair.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that was an
I don't know how
interesting
to
day.
feel about that. Yeah, that's an interesting day.
It's just something we don't do now, but I feel like it was a really common thing to try to keep something from someone and, to remember them by.
Something sentimental.
And now we're just I have 7,000 photos and 70,000 memes on my phone. So,
We kind of don't need to do that so much anymore, do we?
No.
Imagine, when we get proper holograms that we can interact with, that's game over. I don't need friends. I really don't need, I will program these things to do what I need them to do for me.
Yeah, you won't need friends.
As in, not talk back.
So let that be known now, everyone listening. If you want to be Ian's friend, you don't have much time.
You have a short window where you can be my friend.
And don't ever talk back, because that is a surefire way to get on Ian's non-friend list. Yeah.
And really just don't ask questions during meetings either.
No, none of that.
Wait, when did that happen? Oh, no, that happened yesterday. Deneé's referencing something that happened yesterday where... So, ask questions at the end. That's fine, because guess what? I'm probably going to have the answer during the presentation, which I did. So... Before I get a full-blown mutiny. No, but I'm still excited for this episode. I have high hopes. I'm not going to prejudge it and assume it's going to go heavy into the Pike stuff, but...
it has to, will, right?
How would it not?
It has to.
The whole concept of Memento Mori is exactly what Pike is dealing with.
Yes,
that's exactly
what he's his backstory,
with.
It is that. Yeah,
it's all in how they deliver it.
Always.
That's how it is. If they're going to do good storytelling, then I'm okay with it. I think that we're just coming off of Picard, which just was like hitting some things over the head so hard that didn't have a payoff at the end. Like listening to how Picard was watching how Picard was trying to figure out like the mystery of his mind in season 2, where it just kept going into it. And then when they finally had one full episode, but there's more to come later. And it was done so strangely. So it depends on how they're doing the storytelling. Because I don't know that I mind it too much. It's an interesting concept, like to know when you're going to die and to be doing the things that they're doing. But if they hit it over the head too many times in this whole season,
if they paralyze him, it's not going to be so fun. Sorry, I meant paralyze him with fear, not actually. He literally ends up paralyzed, so that's not what I meant. But paralyzed with fear.
So insensitive, Ian. I mean, just the level of insensitivity.
Hey, you started the episode with beep, boop, beep, which is literally the only way he can talk.
That's right.
Oh, okay. Well, with that,
I'm sorry. I'm sorry for my digital appropriation. I promise I will do better.
Oh my God, what is wrong with us?
With that, we will see you guys for a full debrief in 10 Forward after we've watched episode 4 of Strange New Worlds. Remember, you're all dead. Welcome to 10 Forward, the part of the show where we grab something from the replicator and share our immediate thoughts and feelings on the episode we just watched. Together, most important question first, Ambassador, what would you like from the replicator?
I like a candlelit cake, please.
You like some candlelit cake? Nice,
and some sweet tea, please.
Nice. Some sweet tea. I'm going to take some plasma. Aaron. Introduction. Let's do the damn synopsis.
Wait, you don't.
Should not
Aaron
be doing the
doesn't
podcast.
I don't get anything.
Still,
I've got my eternal water
ration.
until it runs
Man,
out.
he's got the eternal water. You don't want anything, Captain Ian?
He said some plasma.
Yeah, no, I said I want some plasma.
You want some plasma.
Yeah.
Oh, I misunderstood.
I want to replicate some plasma.
Gross.
This week on episode 4 of Strange New Worlds, while bringing supplies to a colony, the Enterprise and crew find the colonists have been attacked and taken away. A few survivors approach the Enterprise on a damaged ship, which begins a dangerous game of cat and mouse inside a brown dwarf being eaten by a black hole with the Gorn. Bye-bye! Aaron,
yes.
Overall thoughts first.
Well, boy, were we wrong. The Pike stuff not even mentioned.
Not mentioned
So wrong. They
Egg on my
trolled
face.
us so hard.
Super hard. You can't name the episode that and then ignore it entirely.
Yeah.
Apparently you can.
Well, I mean, they didn't ignore the. I mean, clearly it was about this day, which is it. What's it called? The day where you
Remembrance
Day.
Remembrance Day. Yeah.
And that's a type of Memento Mori. So yeah, sure, but
Fine.
Yeah, interesting stuff. No, I really enjoyed it. It's another great standalone episode. It's we got to see the really cool black hole planet from the intro.
Yes.
Is that what it was? I missed
really
it.
loud.
Yeah.
I didn't see the shot that I was looking for.
Yeah, you see it towards the end. You don't see
Yeah.
it. I don't know that you ever see the full black hole, but you definitely see at least like half of it, and it's clear that it's the same one from the intro. So
I wrote down, is this going to be from the intro? And then I didn't see a shot that made me feel like I was confidently going to bring that to the table.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it was at the end. It wasn't exactly the same shot, but it's definitely the same phenomenon.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah, definitely.
But hey, take it away, Deneé. You've predicted.
Right?
That is exactly what's happening. We are visiting each thing in the opening credits.
Yeah.
That's amazing. I was so certain we weren't.
It's a fun little game of like, where's Waldo? You know, like
yeah, it is.
It's whatever
It really
Star
is.
Trek version of that is.
That's so fun.
But yeah, no, I had a really good time. I still find myself getting bored occasionally, but that's just my brain gets like some of the sentimental stuff feels a little cheesy to me, and so my brain checks out. But yeah, but I'm having a good time.
We may have been watching too much Discovery.
Maybe.
Loved it. Absolutely loved it. This is a great mix of adventure, blow up the ship, escape by escaping into the gravitational well of something is a classic Star Trek trope. I love it so much. Great cat and mouse submarine Wrath of Khan type of episode where you just have two ships and a battle of wits. Loved it. A little bit of backstory. Feel the same way about the sentimental stuff. It's like, does everybody have to have a tragic backstory?
Yeah.
So, and I kind of drift off whenever we start doing mind melds because that is something we have done to death.
That was the fucking coolest thing. I've never seen that before. Shut your goddamn mouth.
You should really watch more Star Trek. This is a show you may not have heard of it.
I've never seen the mind meld before. I've only heard about it.
Oh my! Watch Voyager. You will be. Okay, don't watch Voyager. I shall not. But overall, beautiful episode visually. Everything I could have wanted, and I'm glad they didn't reveal the Gorn yet. Deneé, your overall thoughts?
Yeah, this was a more serious episode.
Oh yeah.
It was dark and scary and deadly, and yeah, it was definitely different than I was thinking it was going to be. But at the same time, I really enjoyed all of the pieces of it. Because it's like when shit goes sideways on a spaceship in the middle of space.
Oh my gosh.
You know.
Uh-huh.
So it pushed the ship beyond its limits. We saw the captain have to sacrifice part of the crew on this one, which is not something that I am used to seeing in my what I will now refer to as the soap opera that is TNG.
It really is.
Comparatively.
Comparatively, it really is.
I was glad to see the Gorn in this one. And I like how they did the previously on for this one. They sort of reminded us about the crew in general, but it didn't give too much away about what the episode was going to be dealing with, which oftentimes the previously on will give you way too much of what's going to be happening. And I think I didn't really get a good grip on it going in. I thought, oh, we're not starting with Pike, which was confusing because we all thought it was going to be about his, problems with his fate or whatever. But it really just kind of gave us a crew overview, which makes sense now watching this episode, knowing that the crew in general all had stuff going on that was really serious. And we just got to see more of them in action in a quote unquote normal situation, which is not normal at all. This is like a bad day.
If you're on the Enterprise, it seems pretty normal.
If
this
they
shit
don't
happens
go
quite a
fix
lot.
their ship soon, I'm going to be upset. Like if the next episode doesn't start off with like, well, we've been repairing for 6 months.
I made that exact note. If the next episode doesn't either start with a time jump or we're just leaving Starbase 42 after rebuilding the damn ship because we have nothing left.
Yeah.
It's peeling. Everything is peeling off. That was always the biggest problem with Voyager, is they're 80,000 light years away from home. They have 10 photon torpedoes, limited supplies, get fucking wrecked. And the next episode is like, off we go.
No big problem.
Nothing to see here.
This was a wrecked people, wrecked ship, and yet the crew kind of coming together in this, with the way that tragedy will bring people together. So I liked it. I had a really fun time with this one, even though it was more serious.
Well, let's talk about some of the stuff we really, really loved. I love the classic Trekness of having the multiple locations. So you have disaster hits the Enterprise, you've got shit going on in Medbay that is eventually inconsequential, but it gives those characters something to do. You get these episodes always create some odd pairings. So Uhura and Hema being trapped in the cargo bay, bonding and doing their stuff together. And then a lot of time between Singh and Pike. So you kind of get that. And even the Singh and Spock pairing was like something I know we're only 4 episodes in, but it doesn't seem like they're going to interact a huge amount. So I love that. It keeps the pace going. And it's one of those comfortable things. Like even if the episode sometimes felt a bit slower, it's just the sort of Trek that I'm used to watching and really, really enjoy. I
like that we keep seeing the things that I was most interested in on that first episode. We get to see more of the computer panels. We get to see more of their away costume things. We get to see more of the rooms around this Enterprise because we're seeing different people's rooms. Like when it opened up with Singh, I think, right? Yeah, with her, and she was looking at the pin.
Yes.
So we get to see these different things, and I love the sets so much. Like the old school chunky buttons that Spock has to push to do stuff, I
love it. I love it so much.
Now we just have big touch screens, but then they had, these bulbous sort of things, and it gives us more to look at. It's like they built these beautiful sets, so let's see them. Let's see these costumes. Let's get really close and get to observe
up close
them.
onto the control panels. Yeah, and some of the sound effects. I just could feel the original series sound effects on the bridge, especially. There's like some beeps and chirps. So I'm like, that's nice. That's nice.
That just tickles my fancy.
Yeah, it does. Aaron, what's some of your favourite bits?
Man, I want shoulder lights.
I wrote that down as a sin, though. But
they're handy. They're
really handy. Like, how many times, like, I'm like, oh, fine, I gotta go to the bathroom in the middle of the night. And I'm just like, if I just had like a shoulder light, I could just like tap on. They're so perfect. Then I don't have to grab my phone.
I'm gonna sin those later, though. Okay,
fair enough. You already kind of mentioned it, that we don't get a visual on the actual Gorn creatures, and I like that as well. Save the explicit Gornography for later. That'll be something we can get to eventually. But for now, it's nice to kind of hold that as a little bit of a tease. There was something really about this episode that reminded me of submarine movies. Like,
I wrote that down too.
Yeah, like it's a real like seal the bulkhead. Oh, we'll have to lose people, but we'll save the ship. Like that happens on
dive.
Yeah, all that kind of stuff.
Bombs away.
Dropping a depth charge, basically. You know,
and then like looking through those little periscope things.
Yeah, very clearly.
It's a Hunt for Red October.
Yeah, it's very clearly an homage to submarine movies, and I thought that was pretty cool.
Yeah, it's one of the beautiful things about Trek. You can shift through. This is the Titanic and Hunt for Red October in one. Yeah. And you can do that with Star Trek. You can jump genres so much.
There's a moment I wanted to bring up because I really liked it, and I think it speaks to something, Ian, that you've talked about quite a bit about the cooperative nature of the community of decision-making and things that happen. There's this beautiful moment where I forget who it was. I think it was Ortega, right? Who says
Ortegas.
Ortegas.
The S isn't silent.
Who says something about, get ready to engage or whatever. And then Pike gives acting number one, a look and kind of and lets her do the calming.
I'll let you take this.
It was really nice.
So good.
It was so good.
It was so good, right?
So good. Yeah. So confident and just great leadership. It's so good. The moment I thought you were going to make, which was along this which was along the same sort of lines, is when Singh realizes it's the Gorn that are attacking. Communicates to the bridge and says, run a scan for this. And there's no arbitrary questioning or what do you mean? Spock's just like, yeah, I'm going to do that. And then she's like, okay, that is what I think it is. Ray shields. Pike's like, fuck yeah, Ray shields. Let's go. Yes. Yeah. Let's not have an arbitrary argument where the ship gets blown up.
Right.
Let's just trust your people. And she sounds fucking serious.
Save your questions to the end of the presentation. We've got this. There's just...
Don't interrupt the person that obviously knows what they're talking about. Yeah.
But is it obvious that they know what they're talking about? Sometimes you do have to question your crew. But one of the things that we didn't have to question that was interesting, this is an interesting twist, right? Like, the shields are like, yeah, fucking get them up. And then it's like, oh, but we can't because we have a ship docked.
And Pike's little, oh, fuck.
Oh, no.
Yes.
What?
So good.
I didn't think that was something that was possible. I would think that you'd be
I had questions
have
about
a little shield on something else, but maybe it doesn't work that way.
Right. So this was going to be a nitpicking, but we'll just do it.
That's where I had it was in nitpicking because I wasn't sure how that worked.
You can, in TNG and everything, you can just extend your shields. So you literally have a shield bubble, and you just make it. It makes it weaker, but you increase the size of it to encapsulate the ship that's nearby.
Also, that helps with how simple it is for the CGI, since it's hard.
Oh, yeah. You just
bubble
make it
a sphere is much easier.
Very easy.
Exactly. What I'm going to defend is that the Enterprise shields, this version, they're less advanced, and they literally follow the skin of the ship.
Yeah, and we've seen that already.
Exactly. When it gets hit with torpedoes, it's literally along the contour of the ship. So I think shield technology is less advanced at this stage, and therefore they can't extend it. Moving on.
Okay, fair enough.
Yeah,
fair enough.
That was rough. But I mean, it kicks off the episode, and it was an interesting insight into limitations. Yes, we're going to let the crew do what they're going to do, but something else has happened, and that was unexpected.
And it's Pike's little realization that this isn't just bad. Like, this is a trap. Like, we have been tricked into rescuing these people.
Yeah.
Ortega said, preparing to engage the enemy without getting permission to say that. And then number one says, steady helm. And she goes, aye. I was like, oh, shit. Okay, so she was corrected. But it was, I loved that moment. That was such a good moment.
It's so great. The only other thing I wanted to mention was the pacifism isn't passive speech. I really, really liked.
Oh, man, was going to directly ask you about that. Is that in line with how you see pacifism as well?
Yeah, well, the pacifism for me is about not using violence to solve problems in any way, shape, or form. Pacifism for me is about, if somebody chooses violence against me, it doesn't mean I have to defend with violence against them. I know this is, not everybody believes this. I totally understand that, and I understand some people view that as weakness, but that's different than being passive. That's different than not caring. It's different than not doing something. It just means that I choose nonviolence in every situation.
Yeah, because it assumes that in order to care, you have to fight.
Right.
And that's not. It doesn't mean that you're not invested in the problem. You're just not going to use that solution.
Correct. Yeah. So I really like that.
Yeah, I love it. I mean, just Hammer, man. Just that guy. He's just the best.
He is fun.
Yeah.
It's my grumpy little spirit animal.
$9.99 for your Hammer Time t-shirts. We'll get those in the mail.
I like that. I did also like that we had this like photon torpedo drop situation, which, of course is kind of fun to see them doing something in space. I looked at the time and I was like, we're only halfway through. There's no way this photon torpedo like works. So we're going to be in this cloud for a while. So when they said it did work, I thought, what? That's not. And then the next round of mystery comes. But that's a way that I love this show. It continues even in this one to progress some stories in ways where I feel like in previous shows, Star Trek or others, they'll sit in moments longer than you want them to. Like the arbitrary arguments. Like we're used to seeing those things to fill in that runtime. But now because we have technology and we can shift things around and do sets differently and have different moments, like we're just progressing through. Like to me, there hasn't been an episode yet where I've been bored like you guys have. I'm really excited about what I'm looking at because it's like, we're in an emotional moment, but there's so much happening. I don't even know at this point how they're going to wrap it up. And that's exciting for somebody who usually predicts how they're going to wrap things up each episode.
Absolutely. They're still taking the 3-act storytelling kind of thing, but they're packing so much into every episode. And I'm glad they've done it that way instead of reducing the length of the episodes, because the next logical step, when you have you've gone from seasons that are 26 episodes down to 13, 10, and 6, are we eventually just going to have such short attention spans that everything has to be a 20, 25-minute TV show? I hope we don't get there, and I'm going to shut up saying that I got bored during the sentimental because I'm going to start encouraging what I don't want to happen.
That's exactly it. And, to go back into the mindmeld thing, I know you guys have seen it before, but like I said, I haven't.
And that's probably it.
And for new people, it's something that I was excited to see. Like in all caps, I'm like, mindmeld in my notes because I was so excited. I don't know what's going to happen. I don't know the whole procedure. I don't know what happened. When she was inside his mind, like getting impressions that he has, like he's hearing echoes.
Oh, getting the feedback back. Yes.
That's interesting to me. And also just like they're in the memory. It's a really unique way to show something that needs to happen for the story or like our progression of her story without having to see the Gorn or have the Gorn take her. Like we can go back into a moment that she's had. And it's a really interesting way to shift the story and show more of obviously the big bad of the season, which we predicted to be the case.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
And I think what was episode 1 or 2 when we sort of decided like the Gorn are going to come
straight
back.
From episode 1.
Yeah.
100%. I think that might be the season finale. It's going to be a big showdown with the Gorn.
Which will be really, really cool because there was this moment after she did the code and got that ship to blow up where it zooms in on her face where she's in the shuttle and she's looking out through the window watching this ship blow up and we see the ship blowing up in the reflection or whatever. It's this really interesting shot and it slowly zooms into her face and she has emotion going on, like controlled emotion, rage and like excitement that she's just murdered them all. Like there's just so much that I'm reading in this expression that was really intense, and Pike had some really intense expressions on this episode too, and we get to interpret what those mean. Like with Pike, when he was having his expressions and like his intensity, he was losing people on his on his ship that was really intense, and then like this cat and mouse game. He was great. Pike was great this episode.
It's so well acted. Like everyone is so nuanced. Like even I keep coming back to Hemmer, but even the way that he's grumpy is understandable especially it rewards me for knowing more about the Enar and what their background is and where they've come from. But even to somebody completely new to Star Trek, it's still he's giving you snippets about his culture and the race that he knows. Even using the Gorn as the big bad is something comfortable that I recognise and know from Star Trek, but don't know anything about because they only appeared in the one episode. So it's such a clever bad guy to use that's 50 years old, and yet we still know nothing about them.
So good.
It's such a great choice.
I have to say one more thing about the mind meld thing, too, that I thought was acted really, really well, is when they both pull back out and both Singh and Spock were just like, they both were teary-eyed and just emotional. I don't think it was just the sweat from being in the brown dwarf too long, but it was clear they had both been through the ringer emotionally, and I could feel their pain in a way. It was really well done. I fucking love this show.
It's so good. Because they're talking about Spock's sister, and that's a real, especially for Vulcans, like there's the myth that Vulcans don't have emotions. They do. They just deliberately suppress them. So when he goes into a mind meld, that is the most exposed that he ever is, and that his emotions ever get to the surface. So if he's going to feel shit, it's going to be then in that moment. You will genuinely love Voyager for the amount of mind meld episodes that are in there. Tuvok is my favourite Vulcan of all time.
Okay, but it's Spock. You know, it's like it's special. Spock mind melds are special.
Oh, they're super special. Wait, my goodness, we need to watch the Wrath of Khan with Deneé and watch her fucking ball her eyes out.
No,
you will cry.
No, thank you.
Yeah.
If there's emotion expected, I will avoid it with all costs. Like they're not interested in that. No.
I'm gonna say something that will make people cry that are listening that know. Remember. And just everyone is just bursting into tears right now. You green-blooded bastard. I did have one other thing. Right, this is really, really strange. You've hit all of the points I wanted to talk about. I just got a great deep sense of satisfaction when the away team was on the planet. An unknown ship that is unmarked approaches the Enterprise, and Pike's just like, "Oh yeah, could you just beam everyone back up? Then we'll deal with this." Fuck yes, finally! Like somebody is thinking, like get the people that are vulnerable back on the ship.
It was so fast.
And it was
I loved
so
that
fast.
too.
It was so great.
Yeah. It's just okay. That's done now. We're moving on to the next thing that needs to be addressed this episode. It's like that is how it would actually be.
Yes, it's part of the routine of you're out of communications. There's a strange ship. Yeah, let's get them back up because I may have to raise the shields. Like, it's really strange how bucking like some cliches you need. But bucking some cliches that get you into like contrived danger is just so satisfying. Just a simple thing of beaming the damn people.
I want to imagine that the writing room for this has some like really dedicated old school Star Trek writers who are like, okay, and then the away team gets caught on the planet because that's what they do, right?
Yeah.
And then the new writers are like, no. That's why you're here.
We are better than
you're here to tell us what not to do because we don't want to fall. Like they've hired the writers to tell them what they would do so that they don't do that.
Like we want the Star Trek, but we're going to make it new. That's I guarantee that's what happened. That's probably why they want people to start submitting scripts and story ideas so that they know what not to do.
Do something different.
Avoid that shit.
There was also this really beautiful storytelling moment. I think I referenced it real quickly, but just to I really loved how at the end of the episode, Singh puts on the pin. There was something really subtle about that. Again, I love this idea of these strong female leads who don't have to just fall apart with emotion. She didn't want to put the pin on. It's just too much to deal with.
I don't want to talk about it.
She doesn't want to talk about it.
Past.
But then by the end, she was honoring them for her own reasons. And it was like this real subtle thing that I really enjoyed about this episode. Just this, they do really good on the nose Star Trek stuff. And then they do a lot of good subtle things as well, both for new fans and old fans. So this is just hitting on all cylinders.
They just seem very, very clear about what the theme and story they want to tell for that episode is, and then overlay it with an adventure. And it's just the way they bookend that has been really, really great so far. And we are 4 episodes in, and we haven't been battered with a ton of last time on Star Trek, bringing you up to date. Like there is we've had 4 standalone adventures with some undercurrents that have gone through, and I love it. To wrap up, who was, Aaron, your MVP of the week? Who was your most valuable crew member?
Interesting. Probably Himmer. And it's weird because it's not really the central plot, but I just, there's something about that character I find really interesting and appealing.
Mm-hmm. Deneé?
I think for me, it's
Laan? Noonien Singh?
No, I think it's Spock.
Nice. I like that.
I don't know Spock well enough to understand how he is just brilliant at everything. He's like android level brilliance. He's like, you said to get creative. So hey, computer, run this Ben whatever.
I rewrote the laws of physics.
And then we're going to use a compass as a radar, which is super fucking cool to look at, by the way. Like, I'm fine. Do whatever you want. It looks amazing. But then he also goes with Singh on this mission, and he decides to do a mind meld to help her, not knowing, which obviously is a taxing thing for him to do. And I feel like he's just such a great problem solver, support role. Like, he also pushed a button that was really important too. So
he's a great all rounder, and that's always what Spock.
How can I not say Spock? This is my first mind meld. Don't freak out. Don't freak out, Captain's Pod listeners.
Never forget your first time.
This is a good one. This is a good first one, right? This is a good one.
Yeah.
It's perfect. Spot on.
It's
bizarrely...
Spock on. Sorry. I apologize.
Sorry, you were in the lower decks when we were doing the dangerous things.
But I was pushed through by someone who sacrificed himself for me, so I'm still on the crew.
I hope we revisit Kyle for that moment. I hope he isn't just like hunky-dory in the next episode.
Yeah. Hey,
should
guys.
Hey.
I just saw my crew member die who saved my life. How's the pizza?
I was going to say, how's the peeping?
No. That's what I thought you were going to say.
Pizza.
Yeah, how's the peeping? Yeah, no, we saw the whole thing. Bizarrely, mine is Hemmer as well. I know it's not his episode, but he has this great coaching role. He has so much depth. He's dealing with so much. He was great in this episode. I absolutely loved him. Beautiful. Okay, with that, let's head to engineering. What's left of it, for ReSINstance, is futile.
Warning. Warp core collapse in 10 seconds.
This is the part of the show where we re-engage our sim brains, remind ourselves that no TV show is without sin, even our beloved Star Trek. I have a list, unsurprisingly. Aaron, go first.
Oh, okay. Do we have to go in order, or can I jump around, or are there any rules?
You do whatever the heck you want. There are no rules here. Much like Star Trek.
There are rules.
Just choose to ignore them.
There is plenty here to sin. I think for me, the main thing is the amount of tension that this show wants to get out of. Will Uhura survive?
It was on my list as well.
What are we doing here?
You have new characters. You have Ortegas. You have Singh. Right. You have Hemmer. Do it with those people who we know aren't in the original series. I know Uhura makes it. I fucking know that.
It is the prequel problem. It is the prequel problem.
It is.
Yeah.
They don't sit in it for too long. Like, she's up and about pretty soon. But
this would be a separate sin. They sit in it long enough till she gets to go. What is it? We're here, sir. We're still here.
No. Yeah, you're right.
They definitely sit in it at the end for quite a while.
It's a lot.
Yeah.
It's a lot.
But at the same time, for a new viewer who might not know these characters, like unless I was talking to you guys about it, I would have no idea that she's one of the main ones.
I get it. Like, it would also be weird if Spock, Uhura are never in trouble and never in danger. Like, if they just get sidelined because we know they're going to survive. So I guess it still has to happen.
But you don't have to make such a big deal about it.
I kind of wonder, did she ever have a line in a movie or part of the show?
Barely.
That.
Sorry, just in general, barely. I didn't know that was going anywhere.
Sorry, no, it's okay. I was just wondering if she ever makes reference of her fate. Like, are they giving these characters something now that's said later? So, for example, in this one, they're giving her this idea that, she has a fate to fulfill. Like, she has something to do. And so she's confused about what that means. I don't know if that's going to be a story arc for this show or if maybe it's giving us something for later. Like, if she says something about her calves and dancing on a sand dune, for example.
You did notice how she pushed that thing off of him, didn't you? With her legs. Yes. I'm just saying, it's canon. She got some strong legs.
Super strong. She's very, very strong.
So this is one of the things I'm conflicted about with Uhura, is that we're going to have, fingers crossed, all being well, 7 seasons of fantastic Strange New Worlds. She's going to be incredibly detailed, super...
Well, I'm sorry, did you just say 7 seasons?
Yeah, generally a successful Star Trek show goes on for 7 seasons, yeah. I mean, I hope so. Like, honest, 7 seasons, 6 movies.
Really?
I will fucking... Yeah.
Can I read you one of my notes real quick?
Yes?
I just got very sad because the show is going to end sometime.
Oh, it's true.
I was having such a good time, and I'm like, but this is just like, it's going to be done after a few episodes.
A beautiful thought for an episode titled Memento Mori, by the way.
Yes. Remember, your show is dead. It's not cancelled, but
you mean there's more of Strange New Worlds?
Of course. So they are already filming season 2. So 100%. I think season 2 and season 3 are safe. Anything beyond season 3 is always a coin toss with TV, especially streaming.
But this is the beauty of the individual episodes. When you do a show that isn't dependent on all this overarching stuff, you don't get bored and confused by the overarching stuff. You just get to pop into a new fun episode.
I will jump back in and rewatch an episode.
I would watch 20 years of this. Like, it's, I love these people, so yeah.
Right?
100%.
Sorry to interrupt you, Ian.
No, it's a valid point. It's brilliant. I'm glad we did, because I brought you some happiness. They are definitely filming seasons. So, we're going to get hopefully 7 seasons of Uhura. Beautifully developed character. Fantastic. Straight into TOS, where she's sidelined and just basically becomes the telephone operator. Like, all she does is redirect calls throughout all of TOS. And in the film, she's used even less. So I love that they are redeeming that and giving her more to do now. But it still doesn't undo, like, her in TOS, which is a short skirt.
That just got really dark and sad, because her whole plot line so far in Strange New Worlds is like, I'm not sure what my purpose is, if I really want to be here. And then she decides to stay and just gets shunted to the side.
And for all we see on screen, it turns out to be a mistake, because she isn't very fulfilled.
Wow.
I don't know, man. It's fucked up, but that's, it's fascinating. It really is. Just remake the original series. It's fine. We're good. Deneé, go for it.
I would send that moment that Captain Pike turns to Spock and says, "Hey, Spock, explain this red thing to us."
The red shift. For the audience at home, he may as well have said.
Yeah. It's like, he might as well have turned to camera and been like, "And now, for a little history lesson for you. Everyone sit down. I've got a little slideshow for you." Like, he might as well.
There'll be questions. There'll be a pop quiz later on.
"Hey, Spock.
Yeah.
Tell me about that red thing again.
Tell me about red shifting.
Just
How
for
does
those who
that
don't
work?"
know." And then he's basically like, yes, we're going to do something that makes it appear that we're doing something that we're not. And really what they meant to say is, like, we're going to go into the swirly and look like we blew up, but we don't. It was a very, very long way to get to something that I don't even know that the red thingy whatever happened anyway. I don't know.
We never saw it, unless I'm mistaken. Like, they had 2 things going on and only did one of them. So it was...
I was confused.
Drop off the cargo so that would explode and look like the Enterprise exploded.
Right.
But then the other plan was make it look like the Enterprise is here, when actually
it's
the red shift means that it's over in the future, over in a different place. Now, that actually does happen, and that's called the Picard... Funnily enough, it's called the Picard maneuver later on, because Picard does that to escape somebody as well, which is why they did the Pike maneuver thing. But we never actually saw the red shifting happen.
That makes Picard a real jerk. Like, if he's taken the Pike maneuver and then taken, like it's his. Yeah, look,
made it himself.
Somebody calls it the Picard maneuver, and he's like, "Yeah, I never heard of that before. Now, that was just something I made up. Totally made up. That was all me."
So funny. To be fair, like, in a total sidetrack, but they want to replicate it, and Riker describes it, and Picard brushes it aside as like, "Oh, I just did what anybody would have done." And Riker's like, "No, they literally named the thing after you." So it's almost like Picard is brushing it away, just like, don't draw any attention to this.
Don't
I didn't
look into
do it first,
the history books at all. There's nothing there.
No.
Yeah.
That's so funny. Yeah, but I did love that finale. On the finale thing, black holes eating suns happens, but it happens over a really long fucking time. And it just so happens that when the Enterprise is going into the sun, that's when the ticking clock starts. And it's like, the black hole is eating the sun quicker than expected. It's going to take 4,000 years instead of 5,000. Like, it's still not going to be a matter of minutes before your sun suddenly disappears. It's like, let's create an artificial timeline, countdown timer in some other way. Like, the ship can only take another 20 minutes of this. It didn't need to be that the black hole was accelerating.
Clock. There's always a ticking clock of some sort.
Countdown timer. Someone's job on that ship is to, anytime someone says 5 minutes, they just immediately program it in and stick it up on the monitor.
Yep.
I got you.
Yes.
I'm going to put that on the monitor so everyone can see.
You have so many countdown timers going at once.
No one knows why.
Which one's for the warp core? I hope the longest one.
WC, the WC one. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. No, that's the toilet. That's for when the toilet gets unblocked.
You're right. Mm-hmm. Crap.
Shit.
Yes, exactly. Crap.
Oh, Aaron.
Let's see. Where should I go next? As much as I love Hemmer, how does he not tell her about the cool rods thing before she burns her hand? Like,
because he's a dick.
There's like he's literally withholding information.
That's what Ian would do. Okay, Ian's the kind of person that would go into a meeting with a plan and not tell the person he has a plan and let them fumble through it just so that he could point out that he's right.
Yeah,
here's my spreadsheet to prove.
Instead of being like,
doing.
"Hey, we need to get rid of the ones that are cooler, so check the temperature." He's like, "What do you feel when you put your hand around them?" That's what he says to her. Like, what are you doing? Like,
dick.
Come on.
That's the only way you learn, Aaron. It's the Fletcher School of Teaching.
Sure. Yeah.
Deneé.
Let's just go ahead and talk about shoulder lights.
Do it.
Yeah, do it.
They're great for you, but not for your friends.
True.
They're just right in the eye line of everyone else. They turn to talk to each other, and they're just blinding each other.
Yeah.
And they're on a dark planet, looking, and there's people hunting them potentially.
Yes.
But they can't see shit.
That's great. You're like, because you're going to blind them then. You're going to blind the people hunting you. Just turn around.
You're like,
unless they're a dog.
Pike, why are your shoulder lights down here on my body? I'm up here, buddy.
I'm up here. Immediately gives it away. That's great. Spock sweating is a big problem.
Oh.
If Spock is sweating, everyone is dead. Because Vulcans have, like, in multiple episodes, they have a much higher threshold for heat tolerance, mainly because, like, Vulcan is a hotter planet. It's largely desert as well, from what I remember. And he was sweating more than anyone else. I know he's half human, blah, 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 blah. But he was raised on Vulcan. If he is perspiring, everyone is in trouble.
That's a good point.
I just would have liked him to be clean.
Yeah.
You would have liked him to be less sweaty.
Less sweaty, which is something I never thought I would say about Ethan. Here we are. Surprises for everyone.
I will go next to the very end of the episode as everything is coming around and what's her name? The normal number one? Who's the normal number one?
Una. The one that you can't remember is
Una. I never can remember Una. Una's waking up and Umbenga is giving his own blood and also walking around while intravenously connected to another human being. He's walking around doing his job. You trip and fall, buddy. That's a lot of problems. Like, what is going on here?
That's painful for lots of people.
Lay down, my friend. Lay down.
You're right. You're absolutely right. Take the weight off.
Yeah, there was a lot of tension about losing blood that turned out to just be a big NBD. Yeah.
It's
how are you at sewing? Was the question. How are you at sewing?
I'm gonna bounce off of that one and go to CinemaSins, which is this is a lot of Grey's Anatomy in my Star Trek.
Yeah.
I mean, it happens a lot in TNG. It really does. They usually don't get down to sewing though.
I don't mind the talk about it. It's like we had a very long close-up shot of sewing a wound.
Sutures.
Yeah.
Suit yourself,
and
Star Trek.
Suit yourself, Star Trek. Nice. Suit yourself.
I just thought the phrase, how's your archaeological medicine? I was like, wait, what? I don't think that word means what you mean.
That was strange, wasn't it?
Putting dinosaur bones back together. Do you mean like ancient medicine?
I thought I misheard that. I thought I misheard that.
No,
I thought I did as well.
It's so weird to say archaeological instead of ancient. It really is a weird choice.
It's such a weird choice of words.
Is the idea like we haven't studied sewing for so long that it's archaeological at this point?
No, I think I mean, yes,
it's ancient
but mainly,
history.
Well, yes, but archaeology means literally digging stuff out of the ground. Like it's
Yeah, it doesn't
Right.
mean
Like, hey, you used to dig into the earth a long time ago. You probably came across a pot at one point in time.
now you need to go dig into a human. Like,
I was very confused.
it was such a strange choice of words.
was.
But yeah, I'm glad it wasn't just me that
Okay.
thought of that.
Because I definitely paused there for a moment and thought, wait, did I hear that correctly? But then I was like, I can't pause. I'm watching the show with my friends. And I had to keep
Gotta
going.
go. No, that's why we have this for our catharsis. While we're in the med bay, it was just it just stood out to me that Mbenga was so emphatic about we've lost power down here, all power, everything, it's dead, we have no power. And I'm just like, eyeballs transporter. Like, so your daughter going to be joining us at some point, or is she dead?
Yikes.
Which one is it? Because she either like materializes or she's gone from the buffer. Because there's no way the transporter is still online if life support isn't.
Yeah.
It's like,
Did they say that they lost power?
he like emphatically said we've lost like so much power down here, like everything is offline, they have emergency lighting and that's it, which is why they're archaeologicking people.
Yeah, that is confusing then because they definitely use power for all kinds of things.
It came back later on, but he was so emphatic about it. I was like, yeah, but your transporter, come on.
Okay. Yeah,
Come on.
yeah, that's bad.
Well, and
while we're in there,
specifically, Pike says later that they can't use the transporter because the electricity is down. Like because he was saying to get them out.
Electricity. We need to get an electrician in to fix the Enterprise.
You know what, Ian?
It just doesn't sound right, does
yeah,
it?
I'm from the archaeological world. All right, would you just give me a little bit of grace?
It appears to work on some form of electricity.
So Pike literally says we can't transport you out of there when he's talking to Uhura and Hemmer.
Yes.
So we know the transporter is down.
Yeah, but that one will, no matter how much beating the ship takes, we're never going to get a Dr. Mbenga's log, sadly.
Yeah.
My daughter isn't in the buffer anymore. I got one last one in Medical Bay, and it's that one attack wiped out all of your medical supplies. How poorly equipped were you? Like, I know we have to create some contrivance here, but that was some drama. But yikes! How this is the flagship, and you're done. Like that's.
I mean, but time and time again, and this is not the first episode of Star Trek or sci-fi fiction ever to do this, but time and time again, when a ship goes under attack, the exact parts of the ship get hit that need to get hit to move the plot. It's just like it's the easiest
100%.
way to create plot.
Plot magnets.
Yeah. So yeah.
Yeah. All right, go on, Aaron.
I didn't have a lot more that's big. Well, actually, this one did during the mind meld. Did I miss something, or like when was he able to put together this great big book of everything Gorn?
I wrote that down
like
too.
what like how long
wrote
has
that
he
down
had to study all this and like to make like these cool graphics that he wrote in there, and like it looks so nice. So just like you're on the run.
They've been kidnapped / on the run for a while, so I think we can probably assume it's years. But yeah,
And just
it's
at some
still-
point he had the ability to decode their language
Pen
and
and
put it in a
book
book. Okay.
And then give it
All
to
right.
her as a gift before
At the exact
she
right
ran
time.
off on her own.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not even as a gift. She just had like a mental image of it because she's forgotten all of that. So,
Right, he
like,
didn't even
she
give it to
doesn't
her.
even have the.
Yeah.
He didn't. She
I
just
thought
saw
he
like a
handed it to her.
snapshot.
Maybe he
Take
did.
this with you because it's about
Perhaps,
light.
but she doesn't have it now.
No.
But my other problem.
Nope, she has
is-
trauma now, Ian.
She does.
Okay?
She does have. My bad. Sorry.
The poor girl.
We'll stop talking about it. And I'm hoping that you guys can fix this for me because it's such a glaring thing. I must be wrong. How? So in the book, it has like circles that represent, I assume, flashes on and off, and then next to an alphabet. Like, don't you have to speak Gorn to know what the lights mean?
Right, you still have to have a reference for what the letters mean. Like
Yeah,
you can't
yeah.
Like,
you can't translate the alphabet and think that it automatically relates to an
100%.
alphanumeric language that you know. Yeah, absolutely.
But you
Yeah,
can
like-
do that visually for the dumb people at home who.
I get maybe if like a certain amount of flashes mean food or a certain amount of flashes
Right.
mean bedtime, you can probably
Right.
get
If it
that.
was more
but it
like,
still wouldn't
like
translate
ASL
to an
or
alphabet.
something like that, where it's very symbolic.
Exactly.
And, yeah,
Symbolic, yeah. It's not going to be like, they would have to use the same alphabet as us, and the Gorn have to speak English for this translation to work.
You're right.
And I'm just pretty sure that it's not going to be, hey, we've got some humans on board this ship that are going to take over. You should blow us up as soon as possible. In like flashing lights. Like, I don't know how she did that.
Yeah.
I don't know. That was brushed over.
Where there are times when the show should move the plot along, there are also times that maybe should stop a little bit and be like, let's make this make a little bit more sense. Like,
you're asking for a lot from the sun and the black hole and whatnot, and now the flashing lights was a bit much.
Being specific in this case is your enemy, right? Like, you didn't have to put the alphabet in. We could have very easily just looked at a bunch of circles and lines and gone, oh, okay, we could that's the code for the language, and not connected them to the letter A, like it's Sesame Street, you know? Like, So,
and if you need to see the letters Sesame Street style, you're too young to be watching this episode.
Disagree. I was raised on Star Trek. It is white. Wait.
Out of a
maybe I shouldn't encourage
out of a trash can comes Oscar the Gorn, you know, and he's teaching you about all the letters.
He's just eating children that have been misbehaving.
That's right.
Deneé.
Since we're talking about Gorn, I'm gonna jump onto the Gorn just seeing an explosion, being like, well, the prey is dead, so then they just leave, but they're still not like actively scanning because Enterprise pops out pretty quick and it doesn't seem like it's that far. And I would just wonder, like, do they not have long-range scanners or something? Do they not have something that would be actively looking around for prey? It just seemed to me like that was a really too simple sort of end to the hunt.
Man, this is...
But Deneé, we were at the end of the episode.
Exactly. And this is a long-standing TV thing and movie thing that annoys me to no end when people are hiding and as soon as the person is gone, they pop out. The reason is obvious because we're not going to sit there and watch them hide for another 20 minutes, right? Like you know, that's boring.
But they do a good job of moving the plot forward. So they could just be like, okay, Erica, you got to stay inside and surf this wave for X amount of time. And she's like, got it, Captain. And they zoom in on her fingers, slowly sliding. And we're like, ooh, the tension. Like, they could
just add it to one of those multiple timers that we've got. So.
Yeah, we're just cut to the timer, cut back, cut to the timer. Right. And this is what in the writing room would be rejected instantly.
100%. 100%. Yeah, you're not wrong.
But I felt like that was just like okay, so the Gorn are just going to not notice some delicious prey right there.
They know that we're at the 51-minute mark and they need to chop, get this stuff wrapped up. I don't know if this stood out to you, but to you guys, but having the briefing quite early on, and Ortegas is just like, Gorn don't even exist. Like, they're rumour and legend, and we've never seen them. Sat next to the person raised by Gorn. Like, that may be the thing that you believe, but don't say it next to the person that's stuck in their trauma. I don't think that
people knew that, though, right? Like, I think this is when she says her trauma out loud for the first time.
I don't know, because Una definitely knows.
Well, they're friends.
Pike definitely knows.
But he's the captain.
You might be right. Maybe Ortegas doesn't know that's
that
her
was my
upbringing,
impression.
Perhaps.
Yeah, my impression was that they just you don't say that. Just like, number one isn't like, I'm a alien that I'm not supposed to be.
Okay, but that's slightly bigger. Like, that's going to get her chucked out of Starfleet.
That's.
No, I think you're right. It's probably and since she doesn't talk about the past, it's likely something that doesn't come up. Aaron, Deneé, any last ones to wrap up with? This is my favourite segment, by the way. I love it so much. We love Star Trek, but it's so fun to pull it apart.
I do have a couple more things I can mention. I'll mention this one first because perhaps you can help me, Ian, if this is specifically something about the Gorn that I don't know, because I don't know anything about the Gorn. They mentioned like it was like the rain was on fire. And of course, my sin brain is going, well, there's a lot of things that make it look like it's raining fire. Like fire itself looks like it's raining fire if you drop fire from something. Like, it looks like it's raining fire when I make a campfire. Like, I don't,
Yes.
So I just wonder if that's something specific about the Gorn or if that was just poetic language that maybe was just underthought.
I mean, I was really hoping somebody was going to say, well, you heard hooves and assumed zebra instead of horse, because it's that kind of analogy. Like, she's fitting the descriptions to match her trauma. But on this occasion,
it just happens to be right.
It just happens to be right. But it's, so the Gorn, the only other time we've seen the Gorn do this is, it's really, really similar. Kirk and the crew turn up at the planet that they've lost contact with, and they're absolutely decimated, and the Gorn just start opening fire, and they have like a fight and whatnot, and they do set fire to the entire place and do this orbital bombardment thing. It hasn't been described quite so poetically, so that was definitely more of a trigger for Sing than it was anything that's like it's not like the Borg. It's like their ship was a cube. Oh, that's the Borg. Like, it's not as distinct as that.
And then the only other thing I had was my nomination for this week's statement that sounds really pithy that means absolutely nothing. And my nomination goes to "The best miracles are born from truth." What does that even
What
mean?
does that mean?
What does that mean? The best miracles are born from truth. Come on.
Folks just like, okay.
I wrote down a few things that I don't know where they came from either. I've got like 4 things I have no idea. But along the lines of things,
See if we can piece it together.
Well, I'm going to start with this one because I think like it kind of goes along with what you're saying on both counts of your sins, Aaron.
Okay.
Which is things that are said that are interesting but kind of don't make sense. It came up again during the mind meld. The echo of not believing you're going to die is what gets you killed, because I think this is what Sing said.
Not
That's an overconfidence. That's a statement of overconfidence. Yeah.
I think this is one of the things that was said maybe in episode 1 that Pike heard and was like, oh, that's interesting because he knows when he's going to die. But the interesting thing about it being said in this one is that in the end, we have Uhura, who knows she's about to die but doesn't have a purpose, so thinks she's going to... It's just like this weird thing. Like,
that was crazy. It's like, oh, I haven't decided my path, so I'm okay.
So not believing you're going to die is what gets you killed is almost, it's just this weird sort of like, yeah, just say whatever you want to say and it means whatever you want it to mean. That's what this.
Yeah.
If you get hit by a Romulan, you're going to die. Like, it doesn't matter how well you believe that your path isn't decided yet. Yeah, I don't like that fluffy. Fate, isn't it? The fate stuff.
Here's some things that I don't know what they're about. I'm going to inspire you. Oh, no, I know what this one is. I'll come back to that one. I've modulated to your instruction. And then my comment is, but I won't say much more about that. So I don't know what that means, but that happens this episode.
Means adjusted?
Yeah.
Adjust? I can't remember
something
I don't remember that either.
Their instruction.
Yeah.
Oh, I remember.
There are some...
It was when it was a light thing. It was like the light thing. I've modulated this to your instruction.
Oh,
and it's like, but we're not going to say much more about all this stuff or why it even makes sense. We're just going to jump right into it.
We can't.
This is another thing that I wrote down. This isn't a quote, though. This is just a Deneé note. I mean, way to make it look like it's super fucking difficult situations happening here. ... Why is the swirly thing the swirly? ... Wow, that's a twirly ship thingy.
Nice.
This is where maybe making notes while we're watching and not being able to stop.
No, you're clearly talking about the Gorn ships and how they twirl all the time. Like,
they're very spinny.
That was a very interesting ship.
I think they're gorgeous.
The design,
I love how non-conventional it is.
The design of the big ship was just all over the place, though. That thing was
like so twirly whirly.
Yeah, it was like an elephant ear or something. Like somebody had, put batter into oil.
I love that because the Klingons, Romulans, everyone are basically all tuna sails, middle bit. Everyone has managed to go for the same ship design,
except the Borg.
other than the Borg, except the Borg, which have just gone squares.
This looks like an etcher drawing,
geometric shapes. Yeah, I loved it. It doesn't look anything like the Gorn ships we've seen before, but it's gorgeous. Love it.
We had a commander come take a look at this cliche in this one, which was nice.
We did.
We also had a perfect opportunity to overdub the Independence Day speech in this one as well, because that was quite an Independence Day speech that Pike gave.
Man, speaking of that speech, I think I would sin, like, I'm going to inspire you, and then I'm going to tell you all hands ready for impact. Like, you should probably start with that, because it's going to happen any moment. Just say, hey,
before
quick
I get
message. Secure yourself.
Seatbelts on.
And then I want to inspire you a little bit. But instead it's like, what is the captain talking about? And he's like, ready for impact. Like, well, fucking start with that, guy.
Jesus Christ, what happens early? Well, just stop walking around the bridge when you're under attack as well. Like, Pike, sit down. Sit the fuck down.
Buckle up.
Oh, but then
stop walking around.
That's right. I am one who believes in the buckle. It needs to happen. I think The last one that I have is that his broken arm went into that suit pretty easy, all things considered. For him.
Oh man, that made me cringe because I was like, that thing is just like
he
crunched up in there.
He was all crunched up and funky, and then it's like, but we got to put you in a suit. And then he's like, and now we're in the suit. It's like, your arm is jacked. Don't tell me that you got your broken arm into that suit super easy. It's not like you just lubed up and slid in there.
No, they come pre-lubed.
That makes sense. Mm-hmm. Okay.
I kind of almost wanted him to lose the hand. Like, just as one more sense that he's got to deal with. I was like, let's not beat the man up too much. He's already got stuff going on. Right, if you've all made your peace, we will move on to the final section, which is the Captain's Ready Room. Welcome to the Captain's Ready Room, where we hear our predictions for the rest of the season and bask in our time-crystally glory for anything that's already come true. So, I think we're almost there at saying that the Gorn are the big bads of the season. I think we're clearly going to see them again.
Oh, for sure.
For absolute sure.
We'll see them for the first time.
Yeah, and I still love that. I love that they're still the big bad boogie monster. Slightly nervous about what they're going to look like, judging by Deneé's reaction from when I first showed her a picture of the Gorn. I was like, oh, that's interesting.
Please let them look like just like a
exactly
person.
The same.
Yeah. Oh my God,
just
please.
Crocodile man.
Like no update at all.
No just
upgrade
man in suit.
at all.
I almost want that to happen. I can't see it.
It'd be so funny,
but
wouldn't it?
It would be hilarious.
Oh my God.
It's so great. I kind of want to predict whatever Star Trek bad guys we're going to see. I think we will steer very clear of the Klingons. I think. But I would love to see the Romulans turn up. Because at this point, they're still kind of rumour as well. And there is one big conflict that happens in this time zone. But again, you never see the Romulans. You don't see their faces or whatever. Because to Kirk, it's a surprise that they look like Vulcans. And everyone looks at Spock like, hey, anything you want to let us know about, buddy? Yeah, exactly. Do you know this guy?
Girlfriend?
Uh-huh. Somebody we should know about? So I would love the Romulans to turn up in some way. But I just want to... I'm kind of keen to see how they deal with reintroducing some aliens that we already know without falling into the trap of not doing new things. Any predictions from you guys?
No, not at all. I'm loving that this show is done in a way that predictions are kind of not it's not the fun part of it. Like there's so many shows on TV where predictions are like that's the fun. Like it's what's gonna happen next with this and this. And it's nice to have a show. It's
never as good as you think.
Yeah, it's just
never as good as you think it's going to be.
It's just nice to, again, have a show where it's not, where it's not about predictions. It's just about showing up and watching.
Yeah, totally agree. Deneé, did you guess everything that happened in this episode?
I was just watching it to watch it. I mean,
that's awesome.
I think I was trying to make some assumptions about how the battle was going to go and continue to just be surprised. So I was along for the ride on this one. But nice. I do wonder if there's going to be something to do with number one and the doctor's blood being mixed together.
Oh, perhaps because she's an alien. Yeah.
And there's something about
something to save his daughter because with her like genetic
and that was my prediction from last episode was that there was something to do with her saving the daughter somehow. So
yeah, I like that.
I'm wondering if this is sort of another little way that they're going to weave that into making sense, that maybe the mixture of his blood with her blood creates an antigen of some kind.
And that's how she sacrifices her life so that the daughter can. Oh, somebody's going to sacrifice their life this season, guys. I'm just telling you, somebody's going to.
Someone's going to die. Deneé, man, if that's right, you're going to be spooked. I don't want it to be right because you're going to be so freaked out that you guessed it.
No,
I think we'll be freaked out. Deneé will be fine. Yes. She's used to this.
No.
This is my life. This is what happens. That's amazing.
Yeah.
Well, thanks for listening, everyone. It's good luck giving birth from your mouth from me.
It's snakes, ducks, and possums from me.
It's points granted for me.
Nice. And we'll see you next week. Live long and Podsper.
Thanks for listening. Want to connect with the show? Our hailing frequencies are always open through captainspod@cinemasins.com. Like, comment, and subscribe on your podcast player of choice, and be sure to visit cinemasins.com.
Check, test, check, 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 test, test, check, test, check. Oh, hello, birthday boys.
Hey,
happy birthday.
It's our birthday.
There
it's
it
your
is.
birthday.
What are the big birthday episodes in Star Trek? Birthdays don't get mentioned a lot.
Yeah.
It's because no one's actually alive in
True.
an episode of Star Trek. Fan theory, everyone's dead.
Well, I was just thinking...
No.
I was thinking today, like, of Star Trek and the advancement in medicine and the idea that we really could advance medicine to the place where people are living hundreds of years and, beyond or whatever. And the only time people are really dying is, like, really traumatic incidents where,
Q's fucking around and
right, or whatever.
people die as a result.
Accidental beaming problem.
Accidental transportation problems, yeah.
And I was thinking, like, it will very quickly become like, man, do you remember back when people died? You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, I mean, just the idea that we live, like, it is a certainty. Everybody who is born dies. And that there might be a time in the future where people are like, man, do you remember when people just died all the time? Like,
remember when, like, triple digits was barely a thing?
Yeah.
And then it's just the norm?
Yeah.
It would change. It would change a lot. It would probably make your first, 20 years even more traumatic than they already are for most of us. Because you have to learn so much that keeps you going for the following centuries.
The only Pixar Steelbook I don't have is the original Incredibles.
That's the only one?
It's the only Pixar Steelbook I don't have, and it sells for like $500. So Ian has eaten his microphone. Like I'm a moron as far as collecting things goes because like I want to use stuff. Like and I want it to look the way I want it to look. So like I throw away like those outer plastic cases that come on them sometimes that like add like they'll do cool things where it's like, oh, when you slip the case on, the guy has sunglasses on, or that kind of dumb stuff or whatever.
Shit like
I just throw that stuff away because I'm just like, I just want the Steelbook, man. I'm such an idiot.
I do exactly the same. I get all of my spaceships out of the boxes. It doesn't matter, but I keep the boxes. And my dad was like, are you keeping them so that you could resell them? I was like, no, when I move house, I don't want to damage them. So I put them back in their boxes so they don't get wrecked. And then eventually I'll bin the boxes.
Okay, so like I mentioned, we have like 60 to 65 smart lights in this house, right?
Yeah.
I have every single box that those smart lights came in.
Why?
Because they last forever, and if we're gonna move, like I don't want to just throw them all into it. Yeah.
They do. They should last like 10,000 hours. Yeah, man. I remember when I worked at Homebase, the DIY shop, light bulbs suddenly went from being like £1 each to £14 each, and people would always complain and like, yeah, but the ones that were £1 last a month and burn and destroy the environment. This will last you 10 years. And like, yeah, but £15, man, that's an investment. And I was like, you fucking kidding me right now?
Listen, you can buy the Taco Bell for $5, or you can spend $50 and you won't have to eat for another year. Like it's
man, exactly. It's exactly it. It is funny what we hesitate about spending money on. Like there'll be a game that I'm enjoying in the App Store, and it will ask me for like £1.49 to get another level, and I'm like,
come on.
I don't know. As I'm sipping my £5 coffee from Starbucks, which I will happily go out and buy another one of, and it will just be in the bin. I probably waste £1.50 worth of it.
The next level of the game or the coffee?
But honestly, depending on the day, the coffee, but
yeah,
like the game would give me that joy as well, and it's cheaper. Like
and it wouldn't
be
gone the first time you used it either.
Exactly. Here's my latest ship.
Ooh, it's the Enterprise.
It kind of looks like the
Enterprise,
like doesn't
it? Yeah.
I kind of love it so much. That is the Prometheus.
Is that why you just flew it in a straight line?
Yes. What you couldn't see off screen was something chasing it.
There's a Swarovski crystal-encrusted Snow White and the Huntsman steelbook that was made as a promo.
Who the fuck did that?
Only 6 of them in existence.
Good.
Only 2 are accounted for. One sold.
Careless.
Get this. One sold for $255. Only 2 of them exist in the world, but it's Snow White and the Huntsman. So really,
we did a Boney Pod earlier. I don't know. Spoiler, doesn't matter. About fan fictions. I nearly did the Star Trek one, my favourite fan fiction for Star Trek, and I think I've mentioned this to Deneé.
Fan
on the
fiction
show
or fan
before.
theory?
fan theory, because there's a ton of fan fiction.
Yeah.
Fan theory is that all of the captain's logs that you hear were collected up in the far, 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 far future and then sent back in time to the year 1960, where Gene Roddenberry found the logs and then started with like kind of the earliest logs that he could interpret, which was the original series and Captain Kirk, and then made the Star Trek series based on the logs he found that were sent from the future. I love it so much because that means Star Trek happens.
That's all I want.
And then he's passed the logs on to showrunner after showrunner, and they've all kept the secret, and we're just watching interpretations of stories from the future.
If there is a reason to watch Captain's Pod live someday, it is to see how frequently Ian bounces up and down in his chair. Like, it happens
He's a child.
so
He's a
much.
giddy child. It's amazing.
I love it so much. I love it. Speaking of Star Trek, we're going to go straight into Tricktion before we jump into... And I'm tempted to just call it Tricktion from now on.
Just whatever you want to call it. Hey, it's your show, man.
I have decided Aaron cannot play, because even if I try to guess whether he can play or not, that gives away whether I'm making something up or not. So Aaron will just sprinkle in whenever he can sprinkle. So, are you ready?
We don't want Aaron to play. Go sit on the swings.
We also don't want Aaron to sprinkle. Right?
Yeah, sprinkle.
Sprinkle? What?
Did you say you did say sprinkle?
Sprinkle, yeah, sprinkle his thoughts. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Oh.
Does that mean something else in American?
Well, I you know.
No.
I didn't say tinkle.
You did now.
So this takes place during the Deep Space Nine series, and Deep Space Nine is a big space station.
Thing. This is fiction.
That doesn't fake.
Exist.
So Deep Space Nine has some ships that are assigned to it, and one of these ships gets sent onto a science mission, and this ship sends out a shuttle to investigate an anomaly, because they like to do science, they like to investigate things, and the anomaly shrinks the ship down to about 4 inches. And it's this tiny, tiny, tiny little ship. And there's 4 people there's 4 like crew members on there. In the meantime, the main ship is attacked by aliens, and don't realise that the tiny ship is now missing. So the tiny little ship has to fly back to the main ship, and to get their attention, it flies inside through a vent, and then it's like a Honey, I Shrunk the Kids situation where like hilarity ensues, and the tiny little shuttle has to like press its nose against buttons to work the consoles and to open doors and to like program things, and it just kind of goes around and pew-pews all of the aliens, and saves the day, and then gets turned back into its regular size.
This is fiction.
This is real.
No way! What? How do you use your shuttle as a button pusher?
I shit you not. Like,
you don't need to. You have a computer. Why wouldn't you use the computer?
It's too small to interact with the door, so it literally bumps its nose up against a button that opens the door.
I hate
and
this
then
game.
I didn't even tell you the most ridiculous thing. At the end of the episode, it goes nose to nose with Worf because his wife is inside, and then she's just like blowing him kisses through the tiny ship, and Worf's just like, what's going on? And they climb inside the circuits. They leave the ship, climb inside, and like move around some circuits and stuff. It's ridiculous.
My God, I am awful at this game. I'm sorry, everybody. Captain's Pod, stardate 5749623.69271.
How many 6 9s were in there? That's what I want to know. Like, how is that just instinctual for you? Like,
I didn't even hear. I was just saying. I was not actively thinking. Was I just spurting 69s?
Yes, you're just throwing a bunch of 69s at us. Yeah,
I am horny. Doody doo doody. Wah me me wah mama moo moo whack whack. Super doo shoopy da. It's time to go into the room now. They can't know that I was doing this.